Am I the arsehole for refusing to help out my husband's pregnant wife? Story time. My husband and I live right next door to his best friend, Steve. And Steve, of course, lives with Amy. So my husband and I have a 4-year-old son, and then I just had a daughter a week ago. Steve and Amy have a 5-year-old and a 3-day-old. And my labour went a heck of a lot smoother than hers did. Amy actually ended up needing an emergency hysterectomy because she was bleeding heavily. And Amy and Steve ended up coming home just last night. When they got home, Steve called my husband Dave down because they wanted to smoke a joint on the patio, which, interesting choice of activity, Steve. Dave comes up and he's like, babe, I've got a massive favour to ask you. So basically, Steve had asked if I would mind going round periodically throughout the day to check in on Amy. He wanted me to go over, just check she was all right and do some housework. You know, just the simple things like cooking, cleaning, taking care of the baby. He said that she was obviously really struggling with the unexpected reality that she wouldn't be able to have children anymore. Now listen, I feel for Amy here, but I really do not think that this is my problem because, you know, I just had a baby a week ago. And at this point, even cooking for us is a big chore because of how absolutely exhausted I am. But my husband keeps going, it's okay if you say no. I'm sure they will understand. But like, it would be so good if you could do this for them, babe. I'm sure they're going through a lot. Well, why don't you go round then, Steve? Now, I know I'm being very selfish in this situation, but I feel like I just have to put myself first here. So I was like, I'm going to get to the understanding here. And I asked my husband why him and Steve thought that I would be the one that would be appropriate to ask of this, since, you know, I am also a week postpartum. And that is when my husband turned to me and said, I understand that, but, you know, you're already up and doing stuff. Amy can't even do that because she is bedridden. No. So eventually I put my foot down and I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. I had a really, really bad taste in my mouth about them even asking me to do this. Like family or anything. So if Amy's incapable of doing anything, Steve needs to step up his fucking puss. You know, Steve could take time off work, or he could meal prep for his wife, or call someone else. I know for a fact that Steve can take time off work because Steve and my husband work at the same place and they both get 2 weeks off work. My husband says that he doesn't blame me for saying no, but he says that your attitude towards it has not been good. He even turned to me and had the nerve to call me heartless. So what do you think? Am I wrong here?
Storytime. My sister and I live in the same house, but we haven't spoken to each other in 2 years. So a little background information. I was 17 years old and a junior in high school, and my sister was only a year younger than me, so she was 16 and a sophomore in high school. My sister struggled a lot in school with making friends because she wasn't very likable. She had a really bad attitude. She would bully people all the time about their appearances. So naturally, this made her quite a few enemies. And I just so happened to be really good friends with the older siblings of the kids that she would bully. And they were always coming to me saying, hey, get a hold of your sister before we do. And whenever I would warn her about this, she would literally say that she didn't care and she wishes somebody would confront her about it. Now, my sister did have a group of friends who all were notorious for loving fighting and bullying others as well. So in my head, I was like, okay, at least she has them to back her up. However, things took a turn for the worse whenever she took some inappropriate photos of a girl changing in the locker room and shared them around the whole school. This girl was a freshman, and she just so happened to be a sibling of one of the girls in my sister's group. She also had another sister who was a senior. Part 2, my sister and I live in the same house, but we haven't spoken to each other in 2 years. So like I said, my sister took some pictures of this girl in the locker room and sent them around the whole school, and this girl's older sister was a part of my sister's friend group. I didn't know about this until rumors reached me that my sister was going to be jumped after school. So instead of going straight to my boyfriend's house after school that day, I drove her home instead. The next day, my best friend texted me in the morning saying, hey, you might want to walk around with your sister because they're going to try to get her in the locker room. So my best friend and I took turns all day watching after my sister. And sure enough, whenever we went into the locker room with her, there were 7 girls waiting to fight her. Here's the thing, I'm not a fighter. Fighting isn't fair to begin with, so I picked up this metal scooter next to me, and I just start swinging it at them. Thankfully, security guards and teachers intervened before anything terrible happened. They looked at my sister as the victim, so all of us ended up getting suspended except for her. Fast forward after my suspension, I go back to school. Everything was normal until I went to the library during lunch. All of the girls who got suspended, plus 5 more girls, were all staring at me. Like for part 3. Part 3, my sister and I live in the same house, but we haven't spoken to each other in 2 years. So like I said, everyone except for my sister got suspended, which I don't even know how that happened. But fast forward after my suspension, I returned to school and everything was normal until I went to the library during lunch. When I got there, those same girls that got suspended plus 5 more girls were all staring at me. while I was walking over to my table to go study and eat. And then I see this one girl that is known for fighting, so she has to have a security guard with her at all times. Like, this guy literally had her on a leash 24/7. So when I didn't see him with her, that's when I knew it was time for me to get up and go. So I grab all my things and I go to walk out of the library, and then all of a sudden I feel someone yank my hair, and it was over for me. All those girls ended up getting suspended again, and I ended up getting suspended for that picture because my sister went around and told everyone in school that it was me who took the picture and I was the one bullying that girl online through fake accounts. And my sister told everybody that I was going to be in the library during lunch that day. Her and I still live at our parents' house, but we do not speak to each other at all.
My boyfriend refuses to sleep with me with protection, so I faked being pregnant. Started dating like a year ago, and when we started dating, I got on birth control. Like, I tried for 6 months and it just doesn't work. Like, I feel horrible. One of my biggest fears to get pregnant, so I said we're gonna have to start using protection now. Like, he literally started freaking out in the beginning, saying he wouldn't do that. Like, he refused to do it. And I told him, well, this is not really a negotiable thing, so if you don't use, then we're just not gonna do anything ever. And like, for the past 6 months, it's been like a struggle whenever we decide to do anything, because like, he's constantly like trying not to use it. The thing is, like, I'm obsessed with him, I love him, and he kind of started saying that he would probably break up with me because he just couldn't be in a relationship if he had to have intercourse like that. So a week ago, I was actually furious because he did the most disrespectful thing ever, I think. So I said, okay, let's do it without anything. But the thing was that against my will, he finished inside me. So I decided, you know what, since he doesn't care about this at all, let's fake a pregnancy. It feels like he doesn't think about the consequences, but I know that if I faked it, he would be scared. Oh, by the way, after he finished, he did start panicking, and that was even more like, why did you do it then? He started saying that he had to go and buy me the morning after pill. I was like, okay, I'm gonna scare him. I told him, okay, never mind. I'm already late in my cycle, so it probably won't work. And I know this is not like technically right, but he doesn't know it. So I knew I wasn't gonna be pregnant because of the cycle and everything, but still I wanted to scare him because I thought it was just very disrespectful that he didn't think about it. And I was like, you better get serious about this because there is no way, you already know this, there's no way that I'm ever gonna get an abortion. So then I go a step further and I say, okay, so I'm probably gonna have to quit my job, so you're gonna have to like get a second job. And he was like, okay, let's do a pregnancy test right here, right now. And I was like, it doesn't work like that. It wouldn't show up, like it'll probably just show up in a few weeks. And this was a week ago, so when I tell you that throughout this whole week, like, he hasn't been able to eat anything. I already got my period, by the way, but he doesn't know it because he doesn't even want to do anything. I think he needs to learn his lesson. So I'm probably gonna say like the truth in like 2 days or something. I'm just like actually enjoying seeing him suffer. Yesterday I heard him cry in the bathroom and I kind of felt guilty, but this was what he needed to learn the lesson. So
Storytime about how my best friend ditched me for his girlfriend. So a little background information, I was 14 years old and this all happened from 7th to 9th grade. So my best friend Aiden and I met whenever we were in 7th grade, and him and I hit it off almost immediately. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At first, he was using me for my homework because I was a straight A student, so it definitely was a fake friendship at first. But during the summer before 8th grade, he broke up with his girlfriend. Fast forward, him and I start hanging out more, and we got super close. Then he got back with his girlfriend. And she was the jealous type. She did not like that him and I were friends at all. She was always running to my friend Chelsea asking if Aiden and I would flirt with each other. And of course, every time Chelsea would tell her no. Well, one day him and I are having a deep conversation about how he thought that his girlfriend was going to leave him for her guy best friend. How ironic. Well, I was like, I don't think she would ever do that, blah, blah, blah. But then I asked him, hey, if you and your girlfriend weren't together, would you date me? Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend ditched me for his girlfriend. So like I said, him and I are having a deep conversation, and I all of a sudden ask him, hey, if you weren't dating your girlfriend, would you date me? And he says yes. But nothing came of it. So fast forward, the pandemic hits, and I had never saw him again because he transferred to a different high school. We still talked every day, but then he just stopped answering the phone, and I asked my best friend why he stopped talking to me, and she told him it was because his girlfriend got jealous and she asked him to stop speaking to me, even though she literally had no reason to dislike me. But since he's a good boyfriend, he told her that he would stop texting me, and he did, without giving me a reason, which sucked even more. But I guess that makes him an even better boyfriend because he didn't tell me, oh yeah, my girlfriend's jealous of you, sorry. But still, I was pissed. Anyway, so I accepted it at that point until one day I was texting with Chelsea and she sends me a picture of Aiden and his girlfriend. And he looked really happy with her, but I realized that I still had feelings for him and I have no idea what to do. Is it too late or no?
Am I the arsehole for refusing to sign anything whilst being blindfolded? Story time. So I recently got out of hospital for chronic heart problems. So since I got out of hospital, every evening my husband, who I'll call Steve, has been introducing these little fun games every evening. One of these games used to be about doing things whilst my eyes were blindfolded. This includes like puzzles, Rubik's Cubes, and we would take turns to do these things just as entertainment in the evenings. Now, this was all fun and games until a couple of evenings ago when Steve has been trying to get me to sign my name whilst blindfolded. Obviously, I'm refusing to do this because he never lets me look at what it is I'm signing before I do it. And he tells me it's because he's just trying to see if I can leave the same signature even though I'm blindfolded every single time. This obviously made me feel so uncomfortable, and I said I will not be continuing to play this game until I can see what the papers are. As soon as I said this and I really drummed it into him, he was like, okay, never mind then. And he stopped bringing it up. That was until last night when he brought it up again. He even volunteered to go first. So again, I asked if he was going to show me what I would be signing before I did it. He goes, it's the rules, you should respect that. Obviously, I refuse, and he keeps going on about how I'm being suspicious and there's obviously no trust in the relationship. He said that I have no trust for him and that he was hurt by this. We then went on to have this massive argument, and he kept talking about how I obviously don't trust him. He said that I was out of line for expecting that he could do something strange. I don't know if I am the arsehole here because he has stood by my side through everything whilst I was in hospital. He was there when my own family didn't even visit. So what do you think? Am I wrong here?
Let's do a get ready with me and a story time because this story just deserves to be shared. Alright, to set the scene for you, I was in middle school, and in middle school, it's literally the most awkward years of your life, and everybody is just trying to fit in. At this stage of my life, I was kind of going through a rough patch, just hanging around the wrong people. I wasn't really bad, but I definitely needed to get back on track. So during middle school, we needed AR points, which were like reading points, and we had to take tests on books. And I hadn't finished my book yet, but you know, I was in my self-care era even back then, and I decided to take my book into the bath to read, but I also decided to take my phone. Let me also add, this is when iPhones were not as waterproof as they are now. So I go to step into my freshly made bath with bubbles and everything, with my book in one hand, a bath bomb in the other hand, and my phone. So my hands were full, too full. So when I step in, I drop my phone. Traumatic. I'm obviously upset because I think my phone is broken. I also dropped my book, which I'm borrowing from the school. And so I pick my phone up, my book is just floating through the water, and I pick my phone up like this. I don't think anything of it. I run downstairs, I put it in a bag of rice, and I get back in my bath and I start reading my half-soaken book. All of a sudden, people are banging on the bathroom door, saying that my best friend has called the house phone like 8 million times. So I get out of the bath in my towel, I walk to my room and I call her back and I'm like, hey, like, what's up? She's flipping out. Like, she is hyperventilating, you know, like, Ace, what is on your story? What is on your story? And I'm like, what do you mean what's on my story? Like, my phone is broken in a bag of rice. And she's like, girl, like, there's a video of on your story. And I'm in complete shock. So I'm literally just sitting on my bed in a towel and I'm like, oh my God, I have to tell my mom. Like, this is horrifying. I tell my mom, my best friend comes over. I'm still wrapped in a towel and I look down over my balcony and my neighbors are there, my dad is there, everyone you don't want to be there to see this video. I get to watch the video for the first time and I am literally bawling my eyes out and my book is just floating through the water of the video. If you're wondering why I didn't just log in and delete it, I didn't know my login. So some kid eventually logged in and deleted it for me, and at school the next day everyone hugged me and acted as if I had a family member pass away, and I had to give a speech in front of the whole school. Don't take your phone in the bath.